Two comments I'd like to make and then turn to a couple questions I have. I've been in and out of the hearing this morning, but I want to acknowledge the tremendous work that went into assuring that the events all over the country on Sunday came off without a hitch. And I think that's a tribute to the intelligence communication that's been expanded since the terrible events of 10 years ago. At the same time, I think we all acknowledge that we have to be right every time. Our enemies only have to be right one time. Secondly, General Petraeus, great to see you here in your new role. You and I have had some conversations about enhanced interrogation.
Right.
I don't want to continue to have that conversation today, but I did want to go on the record that I still am a strong opponent of enhanced interrogation, and I base that on the public testimony of former CIA officers and others. I think if we're focused on the goal of winning hearts and minds when we use enhanced interrogation, undercuts our capacity to do so. I just want to make that statement for the record.
Let me respond then, because that's pretty important that there not be some implication that I therefore am for EITs, which I'm not.
Yes.
I have been very clear, and I don't know if you heard my exchange earlier. Again, it was on my watch that we developed the Army Field Manual that now, based on an executive order, governs how interrogations are conducted. I've overseen the detention operations of more detainees than any other person in uniform in recent decades. We adhered to the Army Field Manual. Even all the way back before we had that, as a division commander, we just said we're going to follow the Geneva Convention, period. Full stop, don't try to experiment or anything like that. And beyond that, the Army Field Manual techniques do work. So again, I want to make sure there's no implication, and of course the living our values direction to our troopers at various times as well.
That is,
and also, of course, the agency doesn't do interrogations at this point anyway, so nor have detainees.
That is completely fair, and your record has actually been sterling in this regard, and you have been a leader, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Let me ask a simple question. 10 years have passed since the attacks of 9/11. Do you believe that Al-Qaeda will exist 10 years from now, and do you believe other violent Islamic groups will exist? Director Clapper, maybe I'll turn to you to kick it off.
Well, certainly not. I don't believe that Al-Qaeda 10 years from now will necessarily exist in the form it does today, and certainly not in the form in which it was 10 years ago. What I do see, though, is that the so-called franchises that we've talked about, I think, will probably be a threat to us. So the AQAPs, AQIs, AQIMs, et cetera, there could be other chapters of those. So this is, we've, I think, achieved dramatic successes in taking down and damaging core Al-Qaeda. But I think the whole notion of franchises or variants thereof will be with us for some time.
And I would agree with that. I would moreover say that extremist groups writ large will exist. Not all of them necessarily motivated by something rooted in a misreading of the Islamic faith, but perhaps some as they are now. Not all is extremist groups or Islamic extremist groups. There are separatist movements. There's a variety of others if you look at the designation of these different groups by the State Department. And I'm sure that there will be, unfortunately, movements out there motivated by a variety of different objectives that will carry out extremist activities.
I think that speaks to Congressman Thompson's point about having the strategic view as well, and understanding super-empowered individuals and super-empowered small groups. Let me jump around in the time I've got remaining. The country has the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, as you two know, and I know most agencies, if not all, have their own privacy and civil liberties officers. Can you describe the interagency process where civil liberties concerns are reviewed by the board I mentioned and brought to your attention and the attention of other policymakers? Director Clapper, I don't know if that's a more fair question to direct to you, given Director Petraeus is 8 days on the job. Yeah,
and counting.
And counting.
Well, this is a very important aspect. I would first, closer to home, something I am very familiar with is the function of the Civil Liberties and Privacy Officer that by law is required as a part of the Office of Director of National Intelligence. That function, I have learned in my tenure as DNI, is extremely important. And I attempt to engage Alex Joel, who is known to many on both committees, who is a superb intelligence officer, but very, very mindful of the importance of civil liberties and privacy. I endeavor to engage him as much as I possibly can, along with the general counsel assigned to as a part of my office in these very, very important endeavors. We have many overseers in addition in this respect, notably the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, the Intelligence Oversight Board, and of course you all here provide I think very detailed and multi-layered, which is important, oversight over the protection of civil liberties and privacy. One of the functions of this office is to do outreach with the constituent groups, ACLU and groups like that. It's very important to maintain an open and complete dialogue with such organizations. We don't always necessarily agree, but we do dialogue, and we try to be as transparent on these things as we possibly can to anyone who is in a legitimate position of oversight.
Thank you for that, and I count on you to continue to be really focused in this area. And I'll end with this note, and I'll paraphrase Ben Franklin. Franklin said famously that a society that would exchange essential liberties for short-term security deserves neither. Easy to say, challenge to implement, but this is really, really crucial, and I'm counting on you two gentlemen to help us keep faith with Ben Franklin. Thank you.